Tonight, a system in crisis. Ambulance Victoria declares a code red, unable to keep up with calls for help.
Qantas in damage control. Video goes viral showing what its baggage handlers got up to when they thought no one was looking.
Socceroos fans prepare for a late night or an early morning ahead of Australia's historic showdown with Argentina.
Ricky Ponting opens up about the heart scare that saw him rush to hospital.
A splash of sunshine sends Melburnians rushing to the beach.
And later, the Melbourne Orchestra taking the songs of Australia to London.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Rebecca Madden and Mike Amor.
Good evening. Victoria's ambulance service is at breaking point again after a 3-hour code red emergency in the early hours of this morning.
COVID-19 and staff sickness are again being blamed, with fears of further code red declarations in the coming weeks.
After days of ramping and staff shortages, the ambulance crisis escalated overnight to a code red.
Incredibly busy. We've seen code oranges almost every night of the week for the past 2 to 3 weeks of this Omicron wave. Last night it went one step further.
Issued just before midnight, lasting for 3 hours, Ambulance Victoria pleaded for those not in an emergency to stop calling as requests for help came flooding in.
I think we did about 1,250 cases for yesterday, which is well and truly above our demand, and we've seen our highest demand on record for November.
There have been 8 code reds this year and 17 code oranges last month.
It is probably inevitable with the current COVID wave that we're dealing with, but it's certainly not a comfortable place for the health system to be.
Ambulance Victoria blames COVID-19. Paramedics full load has more than tripled since October. 140 staff are currently off work, putting strain on the system. Victoria recorded more than 26,000 cases this week, up 21%. Hospitalisations are also on the rise, but not as high as previous waves.
Over that Christmas and New Year period, it's probably going to start plateauing off and decreasing.
But unnecessary calls are compounding the problem. Just 1 in 4 who dialed 000 required paramedic care.
The other 3/4 really are just getting reassurance, assessment, sometimes transport to hospital.
Wait times were a major issue in the state election, and Ambulance Victoria says it's working with the state government to increase supply. But when asked about the code red today, the state government didn't provide a minister to speak on camera.
It issued a statement late today saying every health system around the country is under pressure and they're investing billions to get it back on track.
Ambulance Victoria can't say whether we'll see another code red tonight, but more could be issued potentially in the coming weeks. Now, once activated, patients will be triaged and some could potentially be made to make their own way to hospital. According to epidemiologists, we're around 1 to 2 weeks away from the peak of this latest COVID wave. Beck?
Rochelle Brown, thank you. Police have arrested a man over the hit-and-run death of a father in Melbourne's southeast. Beth and Yeoman is following the developments. Beth, police swooped this morning.
Beck, the 31-year-old Narra man is accused of hitting Darren Pearce and leaving him for dead on the side of the Princes Freeway in Berwick. The father of 3 was walking home from his local pub when he was struck around midnight last Saturday. A passenger in a rideshare vehicle saw the 44-year-old victim calling 000. He was flown to hospital where he later died. Detectives have also seized a black BMW sedan believed to be the vehicle involved in the tragedy. The Narra man is being questioned, but no charges have been laid. Beck?
Beth and Yeoman, thank you.
Qantas has gone into damage control over a secret video showing baggage handlers abusing luggage. The 3 workers were immediately stood down, but that's done little to reassure passengers.
Handle with care. These baggage handlers must have missed the memo. Suitcases hurled from head height, some crashing onto conveyor belts, others missing the belt entirely and slamming onto the ground.
Make sure you've been putting valuables in there, definitely.
Yeah. Oh my God, that one at the end just went straight up in the air.
The incident at Melbourne Airport is now the subject of an investigation.
I think anyone that's seen the footage will find it as disgusting as I have. It's
really, really disrespectful and disappointing.
Qantas, whom the trio was working for, says it's no laughing matter.
We're quite shocked when we saw that footage, and for us, those individuals will never touch a Qantas aircraft again.
Qantas cut the last of its internal baggage handling jobs at the end of 2020. The workers in this video, contractors from international cargo company Swissport.
At more than 300 airports worldwide, Swissport provides ground services and cargo handling.
Swissport says it instructs all of its workers to handle customers' belongings with care. Clearly, that didn't happen here, and now 3 workers have been stood down.
Qantas, I'm paying more money, I'd expect them to be treated with care, so it's kind of crazy.
It's not the first time baggage handlers have been in hot water. Just last month, this staffer was filmed throwing luggage onto a trailer in WA. They've also been stood down. Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
The countdown is on for the Socceroos to face off against one of the world's best, Argentina, in a do-or-die World Cup clash. Paul Dowsley is at Federation Square tonight. Paul, a capacity crowd is expected there early tomorrow.
So many are expected ahead of the 6 a.m. kick-off, Beck, that to control numbers, fencing will be installed around Federation Square overnight with just a few entry points. When they get to 8,000 capacity, that's the standing limit for people to watch the big screen here, people will be turned away. Understandably, there'll be more police, more security, and in 12 hours from now, Federation Square is going to be a lot busier, a lot noisier, and our team in Qatar says they're ready. Final preparations as the Socceroos face a massive challenge in a knockout game.
Doing our nation proud again, and that's the most important thing.
You know, we've already surprised a few people with the results that we've had, so yeah, we're looking to go and surprise a few more.
And maybe even make our first ever World Cup quarter-final. But first, there's one team and one man in our way. Argentina and its legend, Lionel Messi. The Aussies aren't intimidated.
It's 10 blue shirts against 10 yellow shirts, and it's a battle, it's a war.
Argentina's ranked 3rd. We are 38th.
We need to leave aside the favourites and we need to play the game. We will break our backs on the pitch in this World Cup.
Lionel Messi is, of course, a legend of the game, but a good team always beats a good individual.
Some Melbourne pubs will open early.
We've got 350 booked so far, so we're not taking any more bookings, just walk-ins only, but it's going to be an awesome atmosphere.
And Federation Square, which has seen epic celebrations over the past week, as crowds have grown almost full last time, and the support hasn't gone unnoticed in Qatar.
When we've seen, scenes of Fed Square and the celebrations back in Australia, and that it really makes everyone proud, and we want more. We haven't finished yet.
This afternoon, the state government announced 2 other official live sites. Amy Park will be open from 5 a.m. with their big screen. A lot of the overflow crowd from here at Federation Square will be sent down to Amy Park. Also, the Victoria Golf Club at Cheltenham. They will open at 5:30, Mike. No doubt a lot of early morning alarms tomorrow morning.
Yeah, my alarm has been set. Paul Dowsley live at Fed Square. Thank you.
A man's been mauled to death by up to 3 dogs in a vicious attack south of Brisbane. The 42-year-old victim was working for an electricity company in the area when he was set upon in the front yard of a Greenbank home. The dogs have been handed over to animal control officers. Police say the residents of the property were not home at the time.
Cricket legend Ricky Ponting has returned to the commentary box after a heart scare at the Perth Test. The former Australian captain was taken to hospital after experiencing chest pains.
Ricky Ponting back dissecting the game he loves.
The toe of the bat is always above their hands.
After a heart scare far too close for comfort.
Got a couple of really short, sharp pains through my chest, and I sort of tried to stretch it out and get rid of it.
Pains he knew were a problem.
Got up, went to walk to the back of the commentary box and got a bit lighthearted and dizzy and sort of grabbed the bench.
He turned to his old teammate and close friend, Justin Langer.
He is one of the tough guys. He would rarely say that. So he got it out straight away.
Within a couple of minutes, one of the Australian team doctors was treating Ponting. The decision was made to take him to hospital.
10 or 15 minutes later, I was in the hospital getting the best treatment that I possibly could.
He was discharged late yesterday, given the all clear to commentate today.
Off the back foot as well.
A huge relief for the cricket community that's been rocked by the deaths of Shane Warne and Rod Marsh.
It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for cricket. They're our friends.
Not only is Ricky Ponting one of the finest cricketers Australia's produced, since moving into the commentary box, he's become one of the best analysts in the game. Seeing him back here today is a relief for colleagues, friends and undoubtedly family, but also for Australians in general.
Nah, you never want to see that happen to anyone.
Definitely a relief to hear that.
I'm all shiny and new this morning, but I think the bottom line with it is, you know, the fact that I was willing to share it with JL and then your mate looks after you.
Speaking out rather than toughing it out, a valuable lesson for us all. Rory Campbell, 7 News.
A bipartisan group of federal backbenchers will fly to Taiwan tomorrow to calm concerns over the recent meeting with Chinese leaders. Former Deputy PM Barnaby Joyce will join the group. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese rejected suggestions the trip will inflame tensions with Beijing, insisting it's not an official government visit.
It's been revealed ACT police had serious concerns about the Parliament House rape case, saying there was too much political interference. Questions are now being raised about why the matter went to court, severely impacting Brittany Higgins' mental well-being.
Yesterday, the DPP withdrew the rape charge against Bruce Lerriman to protect Brittany Higgins' mental health.
The safety of a complainant in a sexual assault matter must be paramount.
But today, the Weekend Australian is reporting that police never wanted the case to go to trial in the first place, fearing for Miss Higgins' well-being. In a confidential briefing, the ACT's most senior officer said, "If it was my choice, I wouldn't proceed. But it's not my choice. There is too much political interference." Another top cop noted there was insufficient evidence to proceed.
Why was it that he went against the police advice in all the circumstances? We're entitled to an explanation for that.
Lead prosecutor Shane Drumgold insists there was a reasonable chance of conviction. But defence lawyers believe Mr Lerriman never received a fair trial.
Is he still presumed innocent? That's the case at law. That should be recognised.
It's also been revealed why Miss Higgins was absent for part of the trial. She went missing and was found by police wandering the streets of Canberra in the rain. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese today says his thoughts are with her during this difficult period.
I wish Brittany Higgins well. She is a woman of considerable courage.
The Prime Minister also agreed that inevitably there'll need to be an examination of how these cases are prosecuted, as calls mount for a review into what some are calling a broken justice system.
5% of sexual assault matters in this country actually result in a conviction.
Advocates say reforms are well overdue. Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
The father and son remain in the Alfred Hospital after a house fire in Melton South. 41-year-old Travis is fighting for life with burns to most of his body. His 21-year-old son, Zach, was also injured after entering a burning caravan to save his dad. It's believed the fire started in a massage chair. Firefighters arrived to find the house and caravan engulfed in flames.
A female thief posing as a customer has tricked a car dealership worker to steal a Mercedes in South Melbourne. Before a test drive late yesterday, she convinced the worker to get out of the vehicle to close a door, then sped away. Police tracked the car to Port Melbourne, where she collided with a cyclist and rammed a police car. The 31-year-old has been charged with multiple offences.
There's new advice tonight about the most widely prescribed antiviral drug in Australia. The National Clinical Evidence Task Force says the little red pill molnupiravir should no longer be routinely given for the treatment of COVID-19. It now says another antiviral, Paxlovid, is more effective. Australia has purchased 1.3 million doses of molnupiravir, brand name Ligerivo, at about 300,000 prescriptions have been dispensed so far. The first burst of summer weather has brought Melbourne out of hibernation to soak up the sun. And we are being told to savour it because today's sunshine, unfortunately, won't last long.
Packed beaches right across Melbourne. Every man and his dog basking in the first 30-degree day since March 19.
We need to take advantage of this weather after so much rain.
I like that when it's sunny, it's always warm in the water.
As of late this afternoon, the mercury hit 31 degrees, and with UV warning extreme, runners set out early to beat the heat. Tomorrow will be even hotter.
So we should see around 33 degrees in the city, could see up to 35 degrees in some of the outer suburbs.
But after that, December could disappoint.
We normally average around 24 degrees for the month of December, and for much of next week after Monday, we're looking at temperatures of 17 or 18 degrees.
But there is hope for the rest of summer. La Niña patterns are expected to weaken in the new year, and the Bureau says that means a hotter and drier January.
There's plenty of people riding bikes, plenty of people grabbing an ice cream and a drink, and looks like we'll be here for a while tonight.
Patrons at Melbourne's rooftop bars also settling in for the warm night, enjoying high temperatures at high altitudes.
Just pure refreshment and happiness.
Capacity levels are exceeding normal for us. Yeah, people are out and about and loving it.
Whatever the weather, venues are preparing for a big summer ahead. Bethan Yeoman, 7 News.
Sonia Marinelli joins us now, and Son, today was our warmest day since March.
It certainly was, Mike. We finally cracked that 30-degree mark, the city reaching 31 late this afternoon. Now, it does stay warm tonight, and for some that could make for an uncomfortable night's sleep. The temperature isn't likely to drop below 17 degrees, and we should still be holding on around 20 at midnight. But how good is this with all the end-of-year celebrations on tonight? The weather has finally joined the party, and there's a little bit more heat still to come. The full forecast coming up after sport. Mike, Beth.
Thanks, Son.
Well, Abby Jelmy is here now. Abby, the Aussies are closing in on victory in the first test.
Well, Beck, it was magnificent Marnus on day 3. The Aussie batsmen having a ton of fun against the West Indies in Perth. The invincible underdogs, our Socceroos, primed for a landmark World Cup clash with Argentina. Some Tiger Cubs strut their stuff for the camera as the pre-season heats up. And Adam Scott in contention at the Australian Open, but Cam Smith has crashed out. So we find out why the world number 3 failed to make the second cut. I don't think he had the best preparation, just partly.
Okay. Thanks, Abby.
Thanks, Abs.
Some Ashburton residents have been kept out of their homes for hours next to the mystery police operation that's locked down a suburban street.
Victoria's greatest women and the push to immortalise them on the streets of Melbourne.
Uber drivers caught red-handed. The trick that's driving passengers away and back into taxis.
And later, the Melbourne Orchestra showing London how it's done.
An Ashburton street's been closed for more than 24 hours because of a mysterious police operation. All Victoria Police has revealed is that officers have executed a warrant at the Sunderland Avenue home. Some residents were prevented from returning to their properties. Police say the matter is ongoing, but there's no threat to the broader community.
The Melbourne City Council has joined a campaign to build statues honouring some of Victoria's greatest women. There's no final list yet, but there are plenty of worthy contenders.
The faces in our gardens give a distorted view of our history. Of Melbourne's 580 public statues, just 9 are of real women.
It's just a matter of pure and utter justice, commemorative justice, when you consider the whole range of achievements, aspirations, the nation building that Australian women have contributed, and we just do not see that reflected on our streets in any way.
On Tuesday, Melbourne City Council will vote on a proposal to fast-track statues of women.
The gap when it comes to statues is beyond absurd.
The state government has funded a statue of Zelda Deprano, who chained herself to a building to campaign for equal pay. Council now wants 3 more immediately.
We want to hear people's suggestions.
Early ideas, women's political campaigner Vida Goldstein, who made global history.
She was the first woman to stand for a national parliament.
And Polish migrant Helena Rubinstein, who started a cosmetic business in Melbourne.
Then she moved to New York and London and built one of the world's biggest business empires.
It's not about tearing down men's statues, rather building women. violence.
To have women raised on cultural pedestals is something that will help close the respect gap.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Elon Musk has released damaging internal emails revealing how Twitter executives invented reasons to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story in the lead up to the 2020 election. Documents show staff intervened to censor a New York Post article because it was damaging to Joe Biden's son Hunter, blocking it from being posted or shared. The article was later found to be accurate. Musk says releasing information about the platform's censorship is necessary to win back public trust.
Uber drivers with a habit of cancelling trips could be penalised by the ride-sharing giant. It's threatening to take away incentives and even deactivate accounts if they keep knocking back bookings, as Australians turn back to taxis.
Stranded, waiting for an Uber.
It's coming. Cancelled, coming, cancelled.
It's a problem for James Edwards most weekends.
A bit of a pain because you got to walk.
Normally have about 2 or 3 cancel before one sometimes.
Uber is cracking down on repeat offenders, threatening to give drivers the flick and take away app access. From Monday, those with cancellation rates above 25% won't be eligible for incentives.
I think that's completely fair, definitely, yeah. Because you're relying on that transport.
It's only going to make the situation worse.
Les Johnson is an Uber driver. He insists sometimes drivers have to cancel.
They have to be so careful about how and what jobs they accept and don't accept. Otherwise, it's a non-paying proposition.
Some passengers are now ditching Uber, turning back to taxis.
Would not surprise me at all.
But taxis aren't problem-free either. The Taxi Council says drivers are overcharging up front and not running meters more often than they should.
We've been pressing the government for many months now to get out there on the road, catch these cabbies.
The industry is also facing a driver shortage. But while there is a wait,
we'll take every booking.
Mel Whiteman, 7 News.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have wrapped up their turbulent visit to the United States. William and Kate received a rock star welcome at a glamorous awards night for William's environmental project, Earthshot.
Another Kennedy quote is, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And I think the two of them are going above and beyond to think about a broader picture of what the world will look like.
Prince William also met briefly with President Biden to round out the 3-day trip. Demand for charity food parcels has exploded in Melbourne. Up next, how the cost of living crisis is turning hardship into hunger.
Plus, the Ukraine conflict's shadow war and the gruesome packages showing up all over Europe.
Authorities get more than they bargained for from a truck full of coconuts.
And Australia's Running Man sets out on the longest run in history. Melbourne charities are seeing unprecedented demand for foodstuffs as the cost of living pushes the vulnerable into poverty.
The queues are lengthening daily, fueling fears it'll be a tough Christmas for many Victorian families.
The Christmas tradition of giving and receiving with a sense of urgency. Have you ever had to come and ask for help before?
No. To be honest, no. Yep, they can come in now.
300 people a week come to Broadmeadows Banksia Gardens Community Centre. They simply can't afford basics.
It's your bag, yeah, milk and bread.
Some food items so we can save the money and pay the bills.
73-year-old Antoinette is heartbroken to be here but has no choice.
The power is very expensive. The bill coming to me is very high. And the gas 780. And I come in here to ask somebody for help.
At Yarraville's Food Bank warehouse, a military-style operation packing emergency food parcels. They'll be distributed from 11 a.m. tomorrow at Dandenong South and Epping. When they last did this in July, thousands queued for hours.
It's very eye-opening to see how many families are doing it tough this Christmas.
We've never seen demand like this.
Mother looks after me while I'm here.
Back at Broadmeadows, it's the worst Father Bob Maguire has seen since World War II. But
the resilience of the poor is remarkable, stunning.
And the lines here get longer every day as the cost of living crisis starts to bite as we get closer to Christmas.
It's going to be very, very basically poverty line Christmas.
Thanks God for everything. I'll try my best.
Good on you.
If I can survive.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Ukrainian embassies across Europe are under heightened security after receiving a series of gruesome packages. It's been labelled a systematic attack on the country as Vladimir Putin boasts about his nuclear capabilities.
Police back outside Madrid's Ukrainian embassy 48 hours after a worker was injured by a letter bomb, another suspicious delivery, this time a package containing animal eyes. Similar gruesome parcels were sent to 7 Ukrainian embassies, including in Hungary, the Netherlands, Poland, Croatia, Spain and Italy, while the home of Ukraine's ambassador to the Vatican was vandalised.
No doubt that is a systematic trend, systematic attack on Ukrainian missions around Europe.
Inside Ukraine, especially around the town of Bakhmut in the east, fighting continues. So too, the missile attacks. In a video today congratulating Russia's state-owned nuclear energy company, Vladimir Putin boasted that no other country has nuclear weapons equivalent to Russia's. Those comments a day after the US president said this.
I'm prepared, if he's willing to talk, to find out what he's willing to do, but I'll only do it in consultation with my NATO allies. I'm not going to do it on my own.
The Kremlin claims Vladimir Putin would be open to talks if the United States recognised annexed territories as being Russian, something the West and Ukraine will never do. In London, Sarah Greenwich, 7 News.
A truck full of coconuts has proved to be anything but. Police in Mexico cracking open the fruit to find 300 kilograms of the powerful and potentially deadly opioid fentanyl. 2 people were arrested for transporting the substance, which was bound for the United States.
French President Emmanuel Macron is getting into the swing of things during the final leg of his US tour. The French leader was greeted by a marching band and feather-clad dancers upon his arrival in New Orleans. He joined in with some of his best moves, including a waltz with a band member. A meteor has been captured streaking across several American states. Witnesses reported seeing a glowing green fireball with a long tail. It's unclear whether it was one of the last of the Leonid meteor shower, typically active during November, or an early appearance of the Geminid shower, which peaks in mid-December.
An Australian man is on a mission to become the fastest person to run around the world. The incredible challenge will take him to 23 countries, where he'll attempt to cover more than 25,000 kilometres.
Who run the world? Tim Franklin, or so he hopes.
I'm hoping to break the world record, currently sitting at 434 days.
This morning he laced up and set out on his global adventure.
I've done some races and some crazy things in my life, but never have I been as nervous.
Dubbed Australia's Forrest Gump, he'll need to set a cracking pace. Starting and finishing in Brisbane, he'll cover 26,232 kilometres. That's 23 countries, 5 continents.
I've got to run approximately 65 kilometres a day.
Tim began his fitness journey after years of neglecting his health. The former lawyer turned triathlon coach is doing this run to inspire others and raise money.
I can't do this without, my big why is helping out my charity partners as well. So Inspiring Brighter Futures Foundation, also the Lung Foundation, and finally Wings for Life. So I really just want people to get out, get moving.
He's been overwhelmed with support. 2 of his friends have put their lives on hold to follow him around the globe, packed with supplies including 50 pairs of shoes.
I've always had a penchant for going long and pushing myself and seeing how far I can go.
Now taking on a marathon, 622 of them.
Georgia Holland, 7 News.
2 people are dead after a minor crash turned tragedy. Details next on 7 News.
Also, another step forward for Melbourne's answer to a New York landmark.
The fearless speed demons taking billy cart racing to the next level.
And singing the song of Australia in the heart of London.
This weekend's auction clearance rates have increased slightly, with 68% of properties sold compared to 64% last week. This time last year, that figure was 75%. There were 711 auctions across Melbourne today, and the city of Knox is showing the strongest sales.
2 people have been killed after a minor bingle turned to tragedy on Sydney's Anzac Bridge. The 2 drivers got out of their cars to exchange details and were fatally struck by a Holden Commodore. A taxi also crashed into the already chaotic scene.
Australian stories are set to be told in a new way on the world stage. The Melbourne Symphony Orchestra has signed a landmark deal with its London counterpart to share music, ideas and even instruments.
For a London audience, a taste of what's to come. Australian soprano Deborah Cheetham singing in the Indigenous Pintubi language. With an ensemble from the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra.
It gives British audiences a better understanding of the great continent of Australia.
That understanding will deepen. The Melbourne Symphony and London Symphony Orchestra is signing a new partnership.
We learn as much from these exchanges as we bring the Australian culture to the world.
Australian stories on a new global stage. And the London Orchestra touring Australia next year, borrowing instruments from Melbourne to keep costs down. It'll also mean Australian musicians travelling here to London to learn and perform, with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra expected to tour.
Young Australian musicians that are now benefiting from the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra Academy can go beyond that and come to London.
An old relationship with new connections. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Lord Mayor Sally Camp's Green Line project now has an architect and design studio behind it. The promised Green Line would involve a 4-kilometre promenade of parks and open spaces between Birrarung Mah and the Balti Bridge. Landscape architects TCL and design studio Aspect have been awarded contracts to design the landmark. The project is modelled on New York's famous High Line elevated park.
A street in East Melbourne has been transformed into a racetrack of sorts for the chaotic Red Bull billy cart race. The entrants range from oversized rubber duckies to surfboard-eating sharks. Star power made up for a lack of horsepower. Rob Mills behind this swerving Suzuki. The event wasn't without a few spills, but all drivers survived unscathed. That's good.
Dangerous. Thank you. Time now for sport with Abby Jelmy. Abs, Australia on track in the first test.
They are, Beck, but not all good news for the Aussies, with concerns for injured skipper Pat Cummins as Marnus Labuschagne hits tons for fun in Perth. The Socceroos hours away from a shot at World Cup history against Argentina and superstar Lionel Messi. Richmond's Tiger Cubs take some time out from the pre-season training to hit the catwalk. And an Australian PGA hangover for Cam Smith. The champ comes crashing back to earth at the Victoria Golf Club. Welcome back. An injury scare for Pat Cummins has thwarted Australia's bid for an early finish to the first test against the West Indies. The hosts closed their second innings at 2 for 182. Marnus Labuschagne, yet again the star, only the third Australian to complete a double hundred and a century in the same test.
Strike one for Marnus Labuschagne, a knock on the fingers. Strike two, where it hurts most. Strike three.
Oh, and he edged that into the helmet. He'll be caught in the gully. He is taken and he's out.
The bowler breaching the crease, a no ball. New headgear for the batsman. Chin up Alzari Joseph. Urged on to provide more chin music. The paceman delivered.
Wow.
A lunging David Warner snared on 48 as Labuschagne hit back.
Racking shot.
Tough keeping track of stats in this latest Mana show. Copybook strokes combining red and white ball cricket.
This is T20 batting. It is now.
The first innings double century maker even employing a spot of tennis, a deft reverse sweep taking him to 99 before completing a rare double to join two of our greats.
Marnus Labuschagne joins Doug Walters and Greg Chappell, becoming the third Australian to add a century to a double century in the one test match.
Australia declared the Windies target a record 498, Labuschagne 104 not out, Pat Cummins sidelined by a leg injury, Steve Smith in charge. Cummins bowling sorely missed as both Windies openers took to the home team's attack. Australia's star batsman out for some revenge with the ball.
So I reckon it's the last ball that Chandimal was expecting from Labuschagne.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
The Socceroos' date with destiny and superstar Lionel Messi has finally arrived. Coach Graham Arnold says he doesn't just think his side can cause an upset against Argentina tomorrow, he knows it.
What's left in their legs? No sports science or fitness tests required for Graham Arnold.
I can see it in their faces. I can see it in their eyes.
An Australian win would leave Lionel Messi without the cup to confirm he is the greatest of all time.
Got massive amounts of respect for him and what he's done. But again, it's 11v11.
As Argentina scramble a plan for a match few expected.
You were also surprised that Australia won again.
Why not remind them they've lifted Aussie teams to their level before? Charlie Yankos, 1988 at the Sydney Football Stadium, Arnie's Ollie Roos, 2-0 at Tokyo 2020.
We're turning up to win another game tomorrow.
Strange things keep happening. Brazil, with 9 rested, beaten 1-0 by Cameroon. Worth the red card for the shirtless celebration. Federer-Djokovic duels had nothing on this one.
Xherdan Shaqiri!
Switzerland-Serbia, first 2-2 first half since the 1958 group stage.
Still gets to it! Brilliant!
Look away and you'd miss the 2 decisive Swiss goals, either side of half-time, for 3-2. For Uruguay, 2-0 over Ghana should have been enough. But when Korea hit the front, 2-1 over Portugal, a benched Luis Suarez knew his final World Cup was over if his team couldn't score again. As Korean fans and players watched the agonising final minutes on phones, Ghana denied the South Americans.
The inconsolable Luis Suarez.
With Australia and Japan, first time 3 Asian nations have reached the last 16. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Richmond's pre-season kicks into high gear on Monday when its big-name players, including Dustin Martin, will return to Punt Road. The Tigers' younger brigade has been making strides in their absence, both on and off the track.
Golden hour on a Richmond rooftop.
Looking good, boys. Thank you very much.
The Tigers' next generation lets their hair down.
I reckon I'm better behind the camera, not in front of it. There's 2 blokes that come to mind. It's Sam Banks. He loves himself. But then Gibbo was a surprise one. He got the haircut done for the day and looked the part.
That's a classic stitch up by Ralphie. I'll probably say him more than me in front of the camera. I mean, he's got the golden locks and the good mullet.
No, that's just for the footy field. It's not for the cameras.
Hugo Ralph Smith trims his now trademark mullet himself at home once a month.
Boys at the club want me to get rid of it, absolutely, but I think I'm too far down the rabbit hole. I think I got to stick with it.
He's looking to take the next step in 2023 at halfback and on a wing after turning down a trade to link up with Adam Kingsley at the Giants.
I don't think I really ever considered it, to be honest. So first time I saw it was actually on Instagram, and then I was a bit rattled. Kingers and I were pretty close, and to hear that he wanted me over there is definitely flattering. But I'm pretty happy where I am.
Josh Gibcus already making the most of the gym this pre-season, adding 4 kilograms to his frame to go with the 8 he put on in the first year at Punt Road. With the additions of Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper, the sun certainly hasn't set on the Tigers' premiership window, but what could make the difference in September is the improvement of these young cubs.
Yeah, they've already had a massive impact. They're flying as well.
Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
It was a wild ride for Shane van Gisbergen in race 1 at the Adelaide 500. The runaway supercars champ started from the back of the grid and went from last to first within 26 laps before pushing a bit too hard.
It's Van Gisbergen that's parked it up in the wall. So that's the championship leader.
He limped back to the pits and ended in 20th spot. Holden's Chaz Mostert claiming a popular victory. World number 3 Cameron Smith won't feature on the final day of the Australian Open after missing the second cut. The British Open champ was expecting to miss yesterday's cut and he prepared accordingly.
I was pretty quick to the pub and, kind of was a few beers, probably a few too many beers deep, and then realised we had an early tea time.
Aussie champ Adam Scott is a clubhouse leader heading into the final day after shooting a 3 under par 67. He's a relaxed character, isn't he?
Under par, wasn't it?
Yeah.
My type of golfer. Thanks, Abby. Now, we've been waiting months for the heat to arrive, and today it finally did. Son, now we want to know how long it will last.
Well, Mike, we have got it for just one more day. Stay tuned. I'll have all the details up next. Hello again. Well, summer certainly ramped up quite a few notches today. It is holding on 27 degrees outside and we are holding on to the warmth right through this evening. It should be around 20 degrees at midnight. 17 degrees, that is our low under clear skies, so nice and dry for those heading out and about. We get dry skies again tomorrow, but it's going to be breezy. The winds are key. They're going to be coming out of the north, pushing temperatures even higher. It's all ahead of the next cool change. Details on that in a moment. Today, our warmest since the 19th of March as the temperature soared from a low of 15 to a top of 31 degrees, and it got to 30 down in the southeastern suburbs. It was one of those rare days where there wasn't any showers or storms anywhere in the state. Temperatures reaching the high 20s down in the south. Some spots got to 30 and we got to the mid-30s up in the north. So this weekend, we are on the warm side of a week trough, and as it closes in, it is going to drag that heat down from the north, which pushes temperatures even higher. We could see more areas reach the mid-30s on Sunday. But by Monday, we are on the cold side of that change. The temperature crashes. Expect a few cold days early next week. That cold change is not good news for hay fever sufferers either. Gusty winds tomorrow equals an extreme pollen day, so do stay indoors if you need to. Pollen levels do return to low on Monday. OK, to the forecast now. It is warmer here tomorrow than in Brisbane. They're looking at a top of 25 degrees with showers, but it's hot and sunny for those in Adelaide. And here too, back home, some patchy morning fog in the far east. Otherwise, bright blue skies to start your day. Most of the state kicking off in the mid-teens, and then it gets hot thanks to the breezy northerlies. We're pushing the high 30s up in the northwest, low 30s everywhere else. What you will notice is that cloud starting to build, but except for a shower or storm in the east later on, it should stay nice and dry during the day. So do expect more sunshine around Melbourne and Geelong with that high cloud increasing during the afternoon. It's warm and breezy to start with, hot and breezy to end. We're heading into the low 30s from the mid-teens. What, Sonia, you are a standout. You are heading for 34. The city starts on 17. 33 degrees is what we're aiming for. Expect warm, breezy winds and a hot sun for most of it. After that, the temperature nosedives. Cold winds kick in on Monday, so we stop at just 20 degrees with cloud showers, possible storm. 19 with showers on Tuesday and Wednesday, just 16 on Thursday. Be patient, it does warm up again. We're looking at a top of 24 this time next week. So the extreme weather makes it really hard to acclimatise to the heat. It's 33 degrees tomorrow, but a top of just 16 on Thursday. At least there's something for everyone in that forecast.
I like the positivity. Thanks, Simon. And that's 7 News for this Saturday. Stay with us as we take you back to the cricket.
For now, from the 7 News team, take care. Good night.